Are you a fan of the FW3 series of flashlights and wish there was a right angle version that you could use as a headlamp and had a magnetic tail? If so, your light has arrived with the Lumintop HL3A. In a nutshell, it's the right angle version of the FW3A that I've got here above. Thanks to Lumintop for sending this to me to review. Since I've reviewed several FW series of lights, I'll try to keep this one a little bit shorter. As a reminder, guys, if you haven't liked this video, subscribe to my channel or hit that notification bell. I'd really appreciate you doing so. Here is the box the light comes in. It's just a brown cardboard box, pretty similar with other recent Lumintops. Inside, the light comes here in this nice foam pouch. You do get a pocket clip and you get a nice head strap here. What makes this head strap pretty nice, you've got your silicone band here that the light fits into. You've got a nice 3-point head strap. It says Lumintop on it. It's got little reflectors on it, which are nice. And then on the inside, you've got that grippy silicone all the way around. I like the orange color here too. It just works really good with the black and really helps visibility too. This light is made from aluminum and is hard anodized in a fairly black flat finish. Machine here is good and it's what I'd expect from Lumintop. On the tail cap here, you do have a Lumintop logo with the model number and a serial number, and it's quite magnetic and very strong here. I can really shake this and it's not going anywhere. The tail cap here is one piece design with the body, and you've got a space here for a lanyard that's not included. You do have this pocket clip which is included, and it's a push-on style, and you can put it at the tail, but it's probably not my first place because it'd just be weird to carry that way. You can put it up here on the top and allows for a reasonable deep carry. The body tube here has square knurling that's fairly aggressive for what it is. Not too bad, but definitely not smooth either. I like it. Threads here are long, unanodized. They are square cut and it's nicely greased. Inside the thread here, you've got the circuit board itself. You can see all those chips in there. Then you've got your spring. This allows the light to use button top batteries as well as protected, no problem, although I'd recommend using it with a unprotected flat top. The head here is on the large side, and that's to accommodate the 3 LEDs in the front. It sticks out a little bit too, more than your typical right angle light. There are very shallow reliefs here that are more for style than heat dissipation. The button here on top is large and flat. It would come on in your pocket possibly with just the lightest bit of press. I find that it works pretty well with a gloved hand as well. Just do that big size and you can really press on it anywhere. It's a nice button for an E-switch. I measured the size of the light at 81 millimeters, diameter of the body at 23.4 millimeters, and length of the head at 34 millimeters. Weight with this light and the included battery without a pocket clip is 102 grams. For an 18650 headlamp, the HL3A is fairly short and small, but that head sticks out further than average. I think this makes it less suited for a pocket EDC, in my opinion. The head just sticks out too far for me. That said, that magnetic tail cap is really useful when you're not using it as a headlamp. You can stick it on a car hood or just on various places. The headband is good, as mentioned before. It's got that orange silicone mount for the light, which you can, while you can unthread the head while on the mount, change the battery, it's more difficult than removing the light itself from the mount, I think, so that's how I'm gonna do it. My example of the HL3A here is running the Cree XPL High LED in cool white at 6500 Kelvin. I like the XPL High emitter, but cool white isn't my favorite tint. Thankfully, there are other LEDs available, including the XPL High with a more neutral 5000 Kelvin tint. You also got a Nisha 219C at 4000 and an SST20 at 4000 Kelvin too. The XPL Highs produce the most peak lumens at 2800, and the Nishas are about 1600 lumens. No data is given on the SST20, but I'd guess it's somewhere in the middle there. The beam here is using that Carrillo style optic that's found on other triple emitter lights like this and the FW3A. No part number here is given, but that does a good job of making the beam smooth and pretty even. Good for diffused light up close and a decent amount of distance too at higher outputs. I have no complaints about the beam profile for a headlamp. Here are my night shots for the Lumintop HL3A, and got it on here in moonlight mode, lowest mode. This is running the Cree XPL High LEDs in cool white, about 6500 Kelvin. This is top of the range mode here. You can see it fades in and out nicely. It does blink at top and bottom. About 2800 lumens or so at turbo, which is here. And this fades quickly. You can even see this on camera. I'm not adjusting exposure or anything. You can see it drop. At first it was overexposed. And that's the big thing with this light here, is that turbo does fade rather quickly. You can see it continues to drop here. I'm not moving the light, and this is getting quite hot in my hands. But you can see the fence line there, how much it has dropped in the short amount of time I've had it on here. Other than that, it's a good headlamp. I will bring the brightness down. You can see the beam pattern here in front of us is quite nice. It's very even. That Carrillo optic does a good job of that. This is available in other LED tints too. So if you don't care for cool white, it's not my favorite tint. You've got other options around the 5000 Kelvin and some warmer 4000 Kelvin tints too. For my runtimes, I used a Sony VTC6 battery. This light will accept button tops or flat top cells, but for max output, I'd recommend a non-protected battery. For my tests, I used the factory calibration here. On turbo, the HL3A instantly starts stepping down in output, possibly quicker than any other light I've ever measured. At the 30-second mark, where the FL1 standard is taken, it's making significantly less light than it does when you first turn it on to maximum output. This is where I set my 100% relative output value. So at the top it was more like 326% of relative output, and at that 30-second mark I put it at 100. At 1 minute you're making 50% of that value, and at 2 minutes you're making 20%. Here's where it remained stable. It ran for hours before stepping down a few more times and running at its lowest mode. Low voltage protection isn't a defined value, it's just the lowest output. So if you decide to make a purchase with this light, expect the bulk of your runtime to be at about 20% of its claimed peak value. That said, this is more than enough for up-close headlamp tasks. It gets relatively warm, as you can see from my graph here too. UI here, this light is running the Anduril firmware. I think it's pretty well suited for a headlamp. I'll link to my FW3A review in case this is your first time seeing Anduril, and it's included in the diagram below. It's a little bit complicated, but once you get used to it, it's pretty good. In short, it's a ramping firmware, so you just press and hold and it goes up, and it will flash when you're at your peak output. Double press to go to turbo, single press to turn off. You've got a long press from off to go to your lowest modes. In case you don't like the ramping UI, it's also got a stepped mode if you prefer that. There is no mechanical lockout on this headlamp, which I'm a little bit disappointed, so you've got to use the UI lockout method. So for me, the pros are it's small and compact. The Anduril firmware allows you to really set the light level where you want it and need it for optimal runtime. There are several LED tints to pick from, so everybody should be happy, and it's got a very strong magnetic tail. The major con for me is that its max output starts decreasing almost immediately. I may be able to improve mine if I run the calibration in the firmware for the temperature sensor. That might improve things a little bit, but it's a small, very powerful light, so it's going to step down. My conclusion is that if you need a headlamp with a lot of output for a very short amount of time with a good UI and build quality, the HL3A is a good choice. For me, it's disappointing to see how quickly it ramps down in output, but that's true of almost all the FW series of lights, and so it's not really surprising. That said, I like the rest of the light here quite a bit, and Anduril adapts itself to a headlamp in either ramping or stepped mode, and this also seems to be fairly reliable. The original FW3A had some reliability issues. This has a single tube design, and the head has some ramping modes. You don't have a tail cap button to worry about. I think this one's going to be quite a bit more reliable. The Carrillo style optics give you a nice even beam that you can even customize if you wish by swapping it out. Modding potential here is pretty good, as you can unscrew this bezel and get access to the optic and the LEDs if you wanted to swap them out, drop in a turbo glow gasket, or anything like that. So if you love your FW3A and wish there was a right angle version to it to use as a headlamp, this is your light. Go check it out. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. Make sure you're subscribed to hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next review.